This is a comparison of the new French Tier 8 medium tank, the Bourrasque, with a bunch of other similar vehicles in Tier 8, both premium and non-premium. Many of the vehicles that I'm comparing to are light tanks, and it has to do with the design of the Bourrasque. I do understand that it's not a light tank. However, the vehicle that's the most similar to the Bourrasque is the Batchat 12T, which is a French Tier 8 light tank in the tech tree. And this is based on looking at the statistics and for example, the view range is very similar, the signal range is the same, concealment is very similar, the traverse speed is similar, the top speed is somewhat similar, and the Bourrasque has less engine power. The turret armor, the hull armor is identical. The turret armor is weaker on the Bourrasque, and the hit points are a little bit similar, a little bit different. The DPM is better on the Bourrasque. The aim time is a lot worse on the Bourrasque. And keep in mind that the Batchat 12T in this case is configured to the highest configuration. The gun traverse is a lot faster with the Bourrasque, which is very useful when you have to drive around a vehicle or when a vehicle is driving around you. The gun depression is identical. The reload is somewhat similar. We got 21 seconds versus 19.5 seconds. With the difference, the number of shells in the magazine. And then we have the average penetration for the Bourrasque is 190, which is relatively low. And the damage per shot is 360 for the Bourrasque, which is fairly high. So when you compare the Bourrasque with the Batchat 12T, they look somewhat similar. A lot of the specifications are similar, but I do expect the Batchat 12T to have more mobility. When you compare it to all these other vehicles, what you're going to find is that the average damage per shot is higher than most of the Tier 8 light tanks and many of the medium vehicles. Is about equivalent. The penetration is actually quite low. 190 is very low. 226 is kind of average for all Tier 8 tanks. When we get down to the reload time, even though it reloads in 2 seconds, which is very quick for the autoloader, you still have that 20-second reload for the entirety of the magazine. The gun traverse speed for all of these vehicles is about the same. The gun depression is best with obviously the UDIS, which is a Tier 8 medium. And I would say that the gun depression with this is going to be a little bit difficult. If you've played light tanks that don't have good gun depression like the Batchat 12T, you'll know what I'm talking about. Don't expect amazing gun depression with this vehicle. In terms of aiming time, 3.36 is really low. Something like an EBR is down to 1.5. In this case, a T92 has very good aim time. You'll notice that I'm not using any special equipment. So it has a very good aim time, while the Bourrasque is probably one of the worst performing aim times of all the comparable tanks. It seems like it is the worst. The dispersion of 0.4 is not good at all. There's one here that 0.46 for the T34-2, which has horrible dispersion. So the Bourrasque has really bad dispersion. It's going to be one of the worst in the games, but not as bad as the Chinese Tier 8 medium tank. In terms of hit points, you do have more hit points than the light tanks, but the other medium tanks are going to have a little bit more hit points. And in terms of armor, well, the turret is one of the weakest turrets in the game, and the hull armor is kind of so-so, nothing special. Engine power is definitely low. I'm seeing a lot of 500s, 800s, even 900. In fact, it is probably the LHM TV is the lowest at 160. You can see it is top configuration. So don't expect good engine power with this, which means sorry I did that. Which means that the acceleration on this vehicle is probably going to be sluggish. It doesn't have that engine power to move you up those hills or to get you to that top speed as quickly as possible. That's what's going to make it feel like a medium tank and not like a light tank. The top speed is 62, which is going to put it up into the light tank territory. Most of the medium tanks are going to be a little bit slower. However, that 62, you're probably going to have to be going downhill or on flat terrain, and there's going to be a little bit of an acceleration time. In terms of the traverse speed, nothing special about it. The traverse speed is a little bit slow, which is consistent with medium tanks and heavy tanks, etc. The other light tanks, the light tanks for this tier have a lot faster traverse speed. So this is probably going to need clutch braking or anything that you can do to improve that traverse speed. In terms of concealment, it's consistent with a lot of the other vehicles. Not as good as the UTIS, but it's pretty much consistent with what you should expect with a lot of the other vehicles. The view range is 400, which is also consistent with a lot of other vehicles. I'm just going to check this vehicle to make sure. Okay, I have to remove these. I'm sorry I did not do this properly with this vehicle. So that changes things greatly with the UTIS. The UTIS doesn't have that amazing concealment. Okay, so in terms of the view range, it's pretty much consistent with all these other vehicles, and the signal range is going to be good for most games. Obviously, if you play Frontline or Grand Battles, 750, there is a possibility you could be out of range, but you're going to be fine with most games. So this vehicle, as I stated at the beginning of the game, the beginning of the video, is a lot like the Batchat 12T. It's going to have more damage, less rounds in the magazine, a little bit more sluggish performance, but otherwise it's going to play a lot the same. So if you want to know what this vehicle is going to play like, try that Batchat 12T. It's not a medium tank in the sense of things like the Czechoslovakian or many of the other tech trees. So I think it's gonna be appealing to light tank players or to medium tank players who like a small medium tank. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, please post below.